Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday. We're going to sit down today and try and make some sense of the whole Pierre-Emile Højbjerg situation. If you're not familiar, basically social media, specifically Twitter, went absolutely nuts yesterday when various journalists and various sources were stating that Everton had a bid accepted for the Southampton midfielder, and not only that, but he'd also visited Finch Farm, agreed personal terms, and everything was basically good to go. Now, of course, in typical transfer rumour fashion, and in typical fashion, whenever we discuss transfer rumours, one journalist was saying one thing and another journalist was saying something completely different. There was journalists that were close to the football club that were saying a bid hasn't officially been accepted and he hadn't visited the training ground yet, and there was still a lot of work to be done if he was to move to Everton Football Club. One story that stayed persistent throughout all of the different stories, even when there was rumours regarding the bids being accepted or not being accepted and whether or not he'd agreed personal terms, one sort of topic that stayed persistent is that the player was really holding out for a move to Tottenham Hotspur. I think he made it quite apparent quite quickly to Southampton that he wanted that move. Southampton's position in this is a little bit difficult because he desperately wants to leave the football club, so I understand that if they get a decent bid from Everton and they accept it, they're probably trying to push him more out that way to make sure he's gone and they can get a little bit of money for him. Certainly if Tottenham turn around and say, well, we're not interested, but the player's view, I think, through all of it has been that he wanted to join Tottenham Hotspur, and he's spoke about how if Tottenham did come in for him, he'd be moving there. So we're going to try and make some sense of the entire situation anyway. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is a player that Everton have been linked with for a few weeks now. There was a bid put in by Everton Football Club, which we'll talk about in a second, just after the Aston Villa game. It was literally, in fact, I think the news story broke about the bid during the Aston Villa game, which was quite ironic, really, because the midfield performance in that game was dreadful. But just overall as a player, listen, Højbjerg's a good midfield player, young still, 23, 24 years old, captain of Southampton, so he's got the leadership qualities, he's got Premier League experience, and he's a player that I think would definitely improve our side. Having said that, he's not the only player in world football that would improve our side, so if he does end up moving to Spurs and he doesn't sign for Everton, which is looking more and more likely, then I wouldn't be too down, I wouldn't be too upset, I wouldn't be too annoyed, because like I said, he's not the only player on this planet that could improve Everton Football Club. We have to look at it and think, well, it's not really hard to improve our midfield at the moment, and granted he would come in and he would, but if he doesn't want to move to Everton Football Club, then we shouldn't be going in for him. So he's a good midfield player, like I said, the player that we've been linked with numerous times over the last couple of months or so, various paper bits here and there that Everton were interested in him. Obviously Everton had put an official bid in, which means that we were interested in him, and he was probably our number one midfield target to bring in this summer in order to bolster our midfield and strengthen it, which Carlo Ancelotti has spoken about how important it is to strengthen that midfield. Now, the thing that I've taken the most positivity out of with this whole situation, if that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg doesn't move to Everton Football Club, and if he decides to move elsewhere or he does whatever, ultimately if he doesn't come to Everton, then at least we've had this situation done and dusted and out the way before the transfer window's even open. The transfer window isn't due to open until next week, I believe. So Pierre-Emile Højbjerg turns around and says, I don't want to come to Everton, I want to go elsewhere. At least we can knock that target off the list, we can cross him out and we can say, right, we move on to the next one before the transfer window is even open. So we're not sitting here in the last week of the transfer window saying, we've put all our eggs into this one basket, we've put all our eggs into this one player, and now he's turning around all of a sudden and saying he doesn't want to come and we've got less than 7 days to find a midfielder, and then rushing decisions and going and buying players that don't necessarily fit, which is what we've done far too many times in the past. I just want to shout out Beatbox Dre Beats has donated £2.99 to the stream. Thank you very much. He says Spurs are bigger and better, can't blame him. Well, they're not, because they're shit, but cheers for the £2.90 anyway, really appreciate it. But anyway, we'll try and make sense of the whole situation. So like I said, Everton have been linked with Højbjerg for a few months now, various paper talks here and there, but it really started to heat up after the Aston Villa game last week. So it started with Jay Burt from The Telegraph, Jason Burt, who is quite a reliable source. Again, a lot of these sources that I'll mention within this within this live stream are reliable sources. There's a couple there that you probably wouldn't read too much into it, but Jay Burt is one of those sources that you genuinely believe what he's saying, and he gets a lot of things right, and he works for obviously a publication that he has to get a lot of things right. He's not just a journalist on Twitter that signed up to weeks before with a fake profile and gone, yeah, I've worked on the BBC and TalkSport and that, and then just blasts out random shit. So he reported that Everton had bid £18 million for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Like I said, this was during the Aston Villa game, near enough, so it pretty much come out just as the Aston Villa game was ending, and Carlo Ancelotti was asked a question about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in his post-game interview to that match because of the story breaking, and he said, listen, he's not our player, I'm not willing to talk about him because he's not signed to the football club, which I think is interesting from Carlo Ancelotti, because we've seen Carlo come out before when Everton haven't been interested in players, or when players have been linked to Everton Football Club that we very clearly haven't been interested in, and it's just paper talk. And he's come out and he said, don't believe this name, don't believe that name, don't believe what you read on Sky Sports. The fact that, you know, Carlo Ancelotti come out and said, listen, I don't really want to talk about him because he's not signed to the football club and we'll deal with that situation when it comes, practically says to me that, you know, that there was an interest in there, and I do believe that there was a bid from Everton Football Club. But anyway, Jay Bird stated that there was a bid of £18 million. Shortly after that, literally within 20-25 minutes after that, the Liverpool Echo reported that Everton have opened talks with Southampton for the midfield player, and then a little bit after that, Paul Joyce reported that the bid was £14 million. So there was conflicting reports on that night. It became quite evident that evidence that Everton had bid for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, but like I said, there was certain journalists that, you know, some were saying it was £14 million, some were saying, and there was other journalists stating that it was over £20 million and possibly rising to £25 million, which again, you know, when you're sitting there and you're seeing Everton being linked with these players left, right and centre, and you're sort of thinking, right, okay, you know, £14 million for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is probably a very, very good deal. He's a decent player, he's still young, he's got good leadership qualities. £25 million, is that as good a deal? I'm not too sure. So anyway, like I said, Paul Joyce stated that there was a £14 million bid, and then various other journalists stated that it was between £20-25 million, and the back and forth sort of went, and then nothing really came of that. Then we didn't really hear much else until after the Sheffield United game on Monday night to sort of Tuesday, yesterday. Unknown Driller has also donated to the live stream. We will get into the live comments in just a moment, but Unknown Driller has donated £4.99. Thank you very much. He says, as a Saints fan, I don't know why Pierre would take a sideward step, so Everton we will finish above you next season. Your pony Spurs have Europe. You won't finish above us next season. You've had a good season this season and you've done well, but you won't, mate. But there you go anyway. Cheers for the donation. So yeah, it went a little bit quiet then. You know, it would become quite evident that there was a bid for the player, and it become quite evident that Everton were interested in him, and that, you know, Everton were going to pursue that move. And still at this point, it hadn't become quite clear where Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's head was. We all know he wanted to leave Southampton. We all know he wants to improve his career and move on to a bigger team. So, you know, ultimately, there wasn't much else there for about a few days or so. And then after the Sheffield United game, like I said, sort of into yesterday day, TalkSport revealed that that Southampton had rejected the second offer, which was worth around 25 million pounds, because Southampton wanted 35 million pounds. Now this confused me a little bit, because this didn't only come from TalkSport, but it also come from Alex Kruk, who who worked with TalkSport or had some affiliation with TalkSport. Again, he was a journalist on Twitter. They both reported, obviously Alex Kruk reported it first, and then TalkSport come back and reported that Southampton had rejected the second offer, which is worth between 20 to 25 million pounds. Again, little bit of confusion here, because we hadn't heard anything since after the Aston Villa game, which was the first we'd heard was that Everton had bid an initial 14 to possibly 18 million pound for the player. We didn't know that had initially been rejected, and then a second bid had been put in. So TalkSport revealing that Southampton had rejected a 20 to 25 million pound second bid from Everton for the player, and they wanted around 35 million pound. Now this is when it became quite apparent that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg wanted the move to Spurs more than the move to Everton. It became quite apparent that, you know, he was more interested with going to Southampton for whatever reason than coming to Everton, and I don't know whether that's because the news articles and the stories started to, get a little bit more heat and have a little bit more traction. But this is when the rumours started to come out that he wasn't really interested in a move to Everton, and he had his heart set on Spurs. So after that, then, like I said, TalkSport revealing that the second bid had been rejected, and that Southampton were wanting in the region of around £35 million. Dan Sheldon then come out, who's another journalist, and he stated that the player had already visited Finch Farm, and a £25 million bid was accepted by Southampton, which again, conflicting stories. One story saying that the bid had been rejected and that Southampton wanted £35 million, and one story stating that the bid had been accepted and, the player had already visited Finch Farm and everything was looking good to go. So, conflicting stories here again. Alex Krug then put out another story a few minutes later stating that Southampton will only sell to Tottenham Hotspur if the bid is matched, if the bid from Everton is matched. So again, Alex Krug really keeping with the story of saying that Southampton have agreed to bid with Everton, and as far as they're concerned, the player wants to leave the football club. They want to sell the player to get some money back for him. He's in within the last year of his contract, and they're not really interested on whatever Spurs think. If they don't match the bid, then they're not, they're not having them. So, this story again sort of persisted, but it did conflict with the original story from TalkSport that stated that the second offer had been rejected. Certainly Dan Sheldon's article, which stated that the offer of £25 million had been accepted and the player had already visited Finch Farm. So there was a big back and forth. There's Everton, some Evertonians saying we don't want him, some Evertonians saying we do want him, some Evertonians saying is it, who do you believe, what's going on, what's actually happening. I fairly sat in the sort of, I was on the side of saying, listen, I think he's a good player. I think he's a player that would improve Everton Football Club. Like I said before, he's not the only player on the planet that would improve Everton Football Club. If you're enjoying this team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Share the video, share the stream. Let's get as many people in here as possible. Let's try and get as many people involved. But yeah, like I said, I was firmly sat under the sort of the situation of, listen, if he doesn't want to come to Everton, then don't sign him. I don't want any player coming to the football club whose heart isn't set on the football club. We've got far too many players at this club already who are just there to pick up a wage and aren't really interested in improving and aren't really interested in going forward with the football club. We don't need any more. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if Pierre-Emile Højbjerg would have joined Everton or would join Everton, that he wouldn't have his heart 100% set on the football club and that he wouldn't, he wouldn't absolutely try his hardest and give it 110%. But what I'm saying is it become pretty apparent pretty quickly that he wanted to move to Tottenham Hotspur, and that's fair enough for him. Listen, he didn't come out and kid us once and say, oh, I'd love to move to Everton, I can't wait, I'm not interested in anyone else, and then say, actually, I want to move to Tottenham Hotspur, I want to go to them instead. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. So, again, I haven't got too much envy towards Pierre-Emile Højbjerg if he does move to Southampton. But it become quite apparent, and like I said, I sat really on the fence of saying, not on the fence, I sat in the part of saying, listen, if he doesn't want to move to the football club, if his heart isn't fully set on it, don't sign him. What's the point in spending, 20 to 25 million pound on a player that wants to join another football club? We may as well go out and look for somebody who his heart is desperately set on Everton Football Club, wants to join Everton Football Club and wants to work hard and wants to get his head down. Because, they're the type of players that you want in and around your squad, don't you? Let's be perfectly honest. So anyway, like I said, that was last night. Nothing really come from that. We all went to bed sort of thinking, what the fuck's happening? Is he going to Everton? Is he going to Tottenham? He clearly wants to go to Tottenham, but Tottenham don't really seem interested at this point. So is he going to be forced to go to Everton through Southampton selling him and what have you? Again, it was a little bit confusing and we all went to bed in that way yesterday. Then got announced today, or revealed today, again, Matt Law, again, another journalist that is quite reliable and trusted and works for an organisation that is trusted within the footballing world. He come out and stated that Spurs have now held talks with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. They've apparently matched the bid that Everton originally put in, which ultimately means that Southampton will accept it. They've held talks with the player and the player's likely destination is now Spurs. And I think that just about wraps up the whole Pierre-Emile Højbjerg saga that lasted around about a week or so regarding Everton Football Club. Ultimately, what it seems like to me is Everton Everton really wanted the player. The player really didn't want to move to Everton because he wanted to move to Tottenham. However, the player was desperate to move away from Southampton, so he probably would have moved to Everton if there was no other option. And even during the conversation, like I said, it became quite apparent that the player wanted to move to Tottenham after the rumour is to state that Southampton wanted more money for him. Again, like I said, sort of last night, it was revealed, or it was believed, that the player really wanted that move to Spurs. From that point on then, Everton had, the Echo done an article, Phil Kilbride and the Echo done an article and come out and said Everton are still, going to pursue this. Everton still are willing to pay Southampton the money and give Pierre-Emile Højbjerg what he wants, because they believe he genuinely will improve the squad. And I agree. I think that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg would improve Everton, but ultimately, it was always going to be the case is that as soon as Spurs become interested, that was going to be it. Then as soon as Spurs said, actually, go on, we'll have him, he was always going to go to there. And Spurs were in, had the ball in their court throughout this entire situation, because all as they had to do was wait on. And at any point then, they could say, listen, there you go, we'll get him for him, yeah, whatever. And he was always going to turn his head because he desperately wanted to go to Spurs. Hernandez, thank you very much. £4 or $4.99 donation. Really do appreciate that one. He says, how is Everton a side that working with Carlo Ancelotti, shooting for European football and a new stadium in the horizon, Saints to avoid relegation? Again, I've got nothing against Saints. Thank you very much for the donation there. I've got nothing against Saints. It just seems that a couple of Saints fans have jumped in and had a little bit of a go there. I've got nothing against them. I don't mind them as a football club. I don't think it's a sidestep, it's an upward step, just because of the history of the football club. And like I said, Carlo Ancelotti is head and tails better than most managers in this league, in the world. In fact, Ralph Hasenhüttl's done a fantastic job, but he's not on the level of Carlo Ancelotti. But like I said, I've got no real issue with Southampton, and I've got no real issue with Højbjerg either. He clearly wants to move somewhere else, so, there you go. Let him have to move somewhere else. Everton were very clearly persistent in pursuing the player, even though he said he wanted to move to somewhere else. And that to me says that Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands are desperate to bring in a central midfielder. But like I said, cross it off the list. He's not the only player that had improved this football club. He's not the only player that we could go out and sign, and we'd probably sign somebody for a lot less money who could do a good, if not a better job than he would be able to do. So cross him off the line and go for the next one. Anyway, we'll get into the live comments then before we go on further talking about it. I want to know what everybody has to say. If you're a Southampton fan, get involved in the conversation, of course. If you're enjoying, like I said, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the live stream as well. To the channel, sorry, not to the live stream. It would mean a massive amount to me if you could do that. Darren says, hey Cam, come on you Blues. Thank you very much, Darren. Come on you Blues. Indeed. Gort says, I believe we've signed him when the announcement is put out. Well, yeah, again, I was going to say that. I was going to say, if anything, this whole saga and this whole situation, it sort of just clarifies the opinion that I think a lot of us have, but what we all get caught up in is that never really believe anything that you're reading unless the player is sat at Finch Farm with the Everton shirt, shaking hands with Carlo Ancelotti, getting a toasty from the canteen. Until I see those pictures revealed from Everton Football Club themselves of the player in an Everton shirt next to Ancelotti, signing on the dotted line, or in an Everton training kit, training with the team, I don't believe it. Because, and it's difficult because it's very, very easy, certainly when it's a player that will improve the football club, and certainly when it's a player that you would like to move to the football club. It's very, very easy as to that when you hear a rumour that, the player's already visited the training ground, and, he's visited Finch Farm, and he's already agreed personal terms, and the bid's been accepted, so it's all good to go. It's very, very easy to read that and go, let's get that excited that, that must be happening because so-and-so said it. Even from, reliable journalists that genuinely get things right, you still shouldn't be 110% confirmed that everything that comes out of their mouth is completely true. Let alone people that are just on Twitter blagging to be journalists, which is what we've seen an awful lot of in recent weeks and months or so. But you're spot on, Gort. If anything, it clarifies that you shouldn't have that real massive excitement stance until he stood with the Everton shirt, whether it be Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, whether it be somebody else, unless they stood with the shirt at the training ground. Hernandez says, hello Cam, how'd your match go? All the best, mate. It was just training, mate. It was just training, but it went alright. I've hurt my ankle a little bit, but we won't go on too much about that. Eugene says, Gomez, Walcott and Keane. Message Liverpool Echo. Sombiero Numero Uno says, hey Cam, what do you think of possibly acquiring Hudson-Odoi? I like him, mate. I like him. I think he's a good player. I think he would improve Everton. Again, another player player that would massively improve Everton. Would probably be charged an awful lot of money for him, and I don't know whether he'd want to come. I think he's probably going to look towards Germany and maybe Bayern Munich, who have previously been interested in him, but I'd like him, I really would. Jeff says, alright peeps, alright Jeff. Sport Channel says, Adrian Rabiot, Maddison to Everton. I'd love James Maddison to come to Everton. Will he come? I'm not too sure, but I would love him to come nevertheless. Jeff says, Spurs are currently better than Everton, but they still have one out. Exactly, you know, yes, they're probably in a better situation at the moment in regards to league table, and you know, they've probably got more quality. In fact, they have got more quality in the team, but they're not a massive step up from Everton, if any step. Dan Ness says, sorry, we've just read that one. Jeff says, £5 spent on signing, super well done, lad. 9 titles, how many Southampton? I don't want to make this into an Everton versus Southampton. Listen, anybody that's donated, whether you've, you know, donated and put in a message that, whatever, anyone that's donated, we greatly appreciate all of the support and all of the donations. It means a massive amount to me. And list anybody that's watching, we've got 30 people watching live, you don't have to donate. I don't ask for donations, you know, they are greatly appreciated, but I don't ask for them. Just anybody that's watching live, anybody that takes time out of the day to come and sit and watch us later, I really do appreciate it. If you could hit the like button, that would mean a massive amount to me. It's free. If you could subscribe as well, that would mean a massive amount to me. But yeah, I don't want to make this into an argument with Southampton fans, because, you know, again, he's probably not going to sign for Everton, and that's become quite evident over the last 24 hours or so. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the arguments with Southampton fans. Sonny says we probably will. Wayne says, hi everybody. Sport Channel says, you guys subscribe to my channel, got cool content, I'll come over and look at it. I'm not even going to get it. Unknown Zilla says, I think it's obvious why he doesn't want to go to Everton, mate. You've spent millions only to end up. Yeah, but we've never had a world-class manager, and now we've got one of the best managers in world football, if not arguably in the top 3 best managers in world football. So there you go. Sonny says, hey Wayne, how you going, mate? Jeff says, funny, but I've got Nout against Southampton, decent club, good manager, team is okay. But there you go. Wayne says, Snyder in the second, Swerve, hope Spurs come in for him. Well, apparently they have come in for him. Where are we? Abigail says, Højbjerg wants Tottenham move. It looks that way, doesn't it? Jonathan says, how can a Southampton fan say Everton have won anything? Rob says, TalkSport were reporting all day yesterday that Southampton had accepted a £25 million bid from Everton and that he'd agreed terms. Well, there you go. And again, you know, TalkSport probably won't, if he does move to Tottenham, TalkSport probably won't mention anything about their rumours stating that he would agree the £25 million bid and he practically signed for the football club. They'll just move on and go, oh, he signed for Tottenham, boss, move on. And that's what a lot of these journalists and a lot of these companies do, and we've seen Sky Sports do it, you know, multiple times over the last 12 to 18 months, and we've even seen Carlo Ancelotti come out and out of Sky Sports for doing it, linking players with moves to football clubs, which is just absolutely, you know, nothing in it whatsoever. Sky Sports reported in the summer that Richarlison had been linked with Barcelona, and Barcelona had bid £80 million for him. Both Barcelona and Everton come out and went, well, that's bullshit, there's been no bid for Richarlison whatsoever, and Barcelona come out and said, we've got a list of forwards who we're looking to sign, and he's not in that list. So there you go. And then Sky Sports all just went, oh, get on this, Jim White's got a boss new tie. And, you know, they've done it multiple times. They've done it with Zaha. Everton have lodged 10 late bids for Wilfried Zaha. And Roy Hodgson come out and said they haven't. They bid once, and that was it. And Marcel Brands come out and said, yeah, we bid once, it got rejected, and we moved on. So, again, like I said, it does follow that story. Is don't believe everything that you read in the papers, or even if you're reading it from a news outlet that's got massive backing and genuinely is you know, mainstream media. Don't believe everything that you read there, and you know, that's obviously, this situation's another one of them where that's become apparent. William says, hey, Hernandez, nice supporting dude. Jeff says, well said, Hernandez. Jeff also says, unknown, we are having our worst season in several years, and you still aren't better than us. Sport Channel says, thanks, Hernandez, for the donation. Spot on. Somebody numero uno says, fucking right, Hernandez, top bloke. He is. Thank you very much, Hernandez. And thanks to everybody else that's donated today as well. Really do appreciate all of the support. Dave says, would rather have Sangare, better with a lot of potential. I agree. I'd rather bring in Ibrahim Sangare, to be perfectly honest with you. Sangare, sorry. Or Boubakary Samari. I think they're both players that would improve Everton significantly more than Højbjerg would. The different types of players, and Højbjerg would fit in. I don't want to get it twisted. I don't want to sound bitter, come on and say, no, he's not signing for us, so he's shit. Højbjerg would fit into this system that Carlo Ancelotti wants to play very, very well, and he would improve this squad. He's better on the ball than a lot of the midfielders we have, and he's 23, 24 years old. He's got leadership qualities already, but ultimately none of that matters. Neymar had fit into our squad perfectly. Lionel Messi had fit into our squad absolutely perfectly. Prime Ronaldinho would fit into our squad perfectly. But just like the rest of those players, there's very little chance of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg signing for Everton. Now, purely off the basis of that, he has made it absolutely evidently clear that he wants to join Tottenham Hotspur, and then that's his next move. And it's fine if Tottenham Hotspur aren't interested and aren't involved with him, then Everton might pursue it enough for Southampton to agree the bid, and Højbjerg to just say, I just want to get out of Southampton, so whatever, I'll go. But I don't necessarily want him on those terms. I don't want a player coming to Everton who is only coming to the football club because we're his last resort, or it's his last option, or, basically, he wants to leave the club he's currently at, and he's only coming to Everton because there's nobody else interested. I don't want players like that. That's not the right attitude. That's not the right mentality that I want at my football club. I want players that are coming in excited to join the football club, happy and ready to improve and ready to take their career forward with Everton, like when Richarlison joined, like when Moise Kean joined, whatever you think about Moise Kean so far at Everton, he joined Everton because he wanted to take the club forward and he wanted to improve his career. If Højbjerg would sign at the moment, there would already be a reservation about him because of his comments about wanting to join Spurs and not really being interested in joining Everton. So there you go. Anyway, and according to Matt Law, listen, Spurs are involved now and Spurs are interested, and as long as Spurs are interested, I don't think Everton are even in the picture. Yes, we might bid and it might get accepted. Yes, Ancelotti might be really, really interested in him, but if the player's heart isn't there, then ultimately he's not going to sign. Hernandez says also, why not come to Everton when you can have a legend, Cam, speaking about you every match? Well done, Cam, spot on, thank you very much, mate. Jeff says Richarlison's not average, nor is Dean or DCL or Gomez. Then Richarlison is world class, mate, absolutely world class. I don't care what anybody says. Richarlison gets in most teams in the world. He gets in near enough every side in the Premier League as well. In fact, he probably gets in every side in the Premier League. Jonathan says, are you moving forward when you're 12? Jab says, I wouldn't buy him if he wants to be at Spurs. Me too. Cornet says, he is not that great. If he doesn't want to join, fuck it, we move for Garner. Sport Channel says, who would you buy, Alan Højbjerg or Rabiot? Probably Rabiot. I think he's a little bit more of, I just think he's got a little bit of everything. Where are we? I've completely lost where I was there. Somebody numero uno says 30 viewers and just 3 likes. Come on, we've got 11 likes now. If you could hit the like button, it means a massive amount to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the live stream if you're new as well. Sport Channel says, would you buy... we just read that one. Somebody says Everton have better players than Southampton. Again, I don't want to get into the Southampton argument. John says, is Alan coming to us? We don't know that yet. Poor chance at Dean or Robinson. I'm obviously going to say Dean. Abigail says, we had our chance to get Maddison when he left Norwich and he didn't want to move to us. He wanted Leicester. Well, there you go. I think it was more that we didn't want to pay the fee for him at that point, and then Leicester, took the risk and he moved to them. Wayne says, I was kind of thought Southampton were okay, done well for themselves after lockdown. What are you being bid for? Well, again, I've got no issue with that. Jeff says, sorry for the banter. No, don't apologise. I just don't want to get too involved in it. Don't apologise. If it's banter and if it's all done in goodwill, as long as it's not serious or arguments, then don't apologise, mate, of course. But yeah, I agree with me. Listen, I've got no issue with Southampton and I've got no issue with Højbjerg. As far as I'm concerned, Højbjerg never come out once and said, I really... I've seen somebody compare it to the Sissoko situation a couple of years ago when Sissoko practically said he couldn't wait to move to Everton Football Club and then turned his car around halfway here to join Spurs. It's not like that. Because as far as I've seen him, as far as I'm concerned, I've not seen Pierre-Emile Højbjerg turn round at any point really and say, I desperately want to move to Everton Football Club, I desperately want to move there, and now say, oh no, I want to move to Tottenham. I haven't seen it. I've seen him be consistent throughout and say, no, my heart's set at Tottenham, I want to go to Tottenham. And I don't really have a big issue with that. Everton now have tried, move away. If he doesn't want to come to us, and Southampton are wanting up to £20-25 million, I don't know whether he's worth that much money anyway. Move on, move to your next target. We've still got a full transfer window to move on to the next target. Jonathan says, yeah, sorry lads, don't need to apologise, mate, no need to apologise. And Sport says, should we get a new striker since Tosin is leaving? No, I don't think strikers are I don't think strikers are a position that we should be looking at as a matter of urgency at the moment. I think midfield needs sorting, and then the defence. So anyway, we're gonna end it there then. A little bit of a shorter one today, but we're going to end it there. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments, as per usual. Really do appreciate it. Thanks to all the Southampton fans as well for coming in and giving a little bit of banter left, right and centre. Listen, we all know who the bigger football club is. It's quite clear. We don't need to argue about that one. If you've enjoyed the live stream, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. It only takes a second. Just to summarise, it's been a mad 24 hours regarding, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and whether or not he'll sign for Everton. Personally, I think now that Tottenham are interested, according to Matt Law, I think he's more than likely going to move there. And even if he did have a change of heart and he did come to Everton, I still think Everton would be interested, because I think Carlo Ancelotti is a massive fan of Højbjerg, and I think he would ideally like him at the football club. But ultimately, if a player doesn't want to come, then a player's not going to come, is he? We'll be live on Friday at 5:15 p.m. with the live game preview to our last game of the season against Bournemouth at Goodison Park. So join us on Friday, 5:15 p.m. for that one. Abigail says Chelsea have signed that says Bunspa goal. Lampard has run out of patience with Kepa. Would take Cantwell. I'd probably take Cantwell as well. Jonathan says, answer my DM on Twitter when you can, mate. I will. I'll get onto it in just a minute, mate. Sorry about that one. And Wayne says, take care, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, big thanks to everybody for watching. If you're watching as a YouTube video, please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll get involved with as many of them as possible. If you're new to the channel, like I said, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back on Friday, 5:15 p.m. for another live stream. Big thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the Pierre-Emile Højbjerg situation as well, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.